The streets of Compton, California in the late 1980s were a breeding ground for a new sound. This sound was raw, unapologetic, and reflected the harsh realities of life in the ghetto. From this environment emerged N.W.A, a group destined to change the face of hip-hop forever. The group, composed of Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, MC Ren, and DJ Yella, burst onto the scene with their debut album Straight Outta Compton in 1988. The album's title became synonymous with their raw style and confrontational lyrics. N.W.A.'s music was a reflection of their environment. They rapped about police brutality, gang violence, and the daily struggles of living in a marginalized community. This resonated with a generation of youth who felt unheard and unseen. The group's success was unprecedented. They achieved platinum status and ignited a cultural phenomenon. Their music transcended geographical boundaries, bringing the realities of Compton to the forefront of American consciousness. However, beneath the surface of their success, tensions were brewing. The dynamics within the group were complex. Eazy-E, with his street smarts and business acumen, was the group's figurehead. Dr. Dre, the musical genius, crafted the group's signature sound. Ice Cube, the wordsmith, provided the group with its raw and often controversial lyrics. These strong personalities, while initially a recipe for success, would ultimately contribute to the group's downfall. As N.W.A.'s fame grew, so did the internal conflicts. Disputes over money, contracts, and creative control began to surface. The group's manager, Jerry Heller, became a point of contention. Some members, particularly Ice Cube, questioned Heller's management practices and his influence on Eazy-E. These simmering tensions would soon boil over, leading to a fracturing within the group. The seeds of discontent were sown, and the future of N.W.A. hung in the balance. The first major crack in N.W.A.'s seemingly impenetrable facade appeared when Ice Cube decided to part ways with the group in 1989. Cube, feeling creatively stifled and financially shortchanged, clashed with Eazy-E and Heller over royalty payments and contractual obligations. His departure was acrimonious, marking the beginning of a bitter feud that would play out in the public eye. Ice Cube, never one to back down from a challenge, wasted no time in airing his grievances through his music. His solo debut album, America's Most Wanted, featured scathing lyrics aimed at his former bandmates, particularly Eazy-E and Heller. The song No Vaseline became an anthem of diss tracks, with Cube relentlessly attacking their business practices and accusing them of exploiting his talent. The song cemented the split and ignited a war of words that would escalate in the years to come. With Ice Cube gone, the remaining members of N.W.A. continued to make music. However, the group's dynamic had shifted. Dr. Dre, increasingly recognized for his production skills, began to feel limited by the confines of the group and his contract with Ruthless Records, the label owned by Eazy-E. He too harbored suspicions about Heller's management and felt he was not receiving his fair share of the group's earnings. I started to feel like I was being held back, you know? And the more I thought about it, the more it seemed like something had to change. Dre's growing dissatisfaction was fueled by Suge Knight, a formidable figure in the burgeoning West Coast hip-hop scene. Knight, who had a reputation for intimidation and violence, saw Dre's talent and believed he was being exploited by Eazy-E and Heller. He began to sow seeds of dissent, suggesting that Dre could achieve greater success and creative freedom by breaking away from Ruthless Records.
Dre, man, you got the talent. You deserve better. You could do so much more if you weren't tied down by them.
Knight's influence would prove pivotal in the coming events, ultimately reshaping the landscape of West Coast hip-hop. Suge Knight, a former football player turned bodyguard and music executive, was a force to be reckoned with. He was known for his imposing physique, aggressive business tactics, and a network that extended from the streets to the music industry.
I saw an opportunity, you know? Dre was unhappy, and I knew we could do something big together. It was time to shake things up.
Recognizing Dr. Dre's talent and the growing discontent within N.W.A., Knight saw an opportunity to make a power play. He envisioned a new label that would challenge the dominance of Ruthless Records and elevate West Coast hip-hop to new heights. Knight's methods were often ruthless. He applied pressure on Eazy-E to release Dre from his contract, allegedly resorting to intimidation and threats. These tactics, while controversial, proved effective. Eazy-E, facing mounting pressure from Knight and realizing the potential financial losses of a legal battle, reluctantly agreed to release Dre from his contract. This marked a turning point in the power dynamics of West Coast hip-hop. Once I was free, it felt like a weight had been lifted. We could finally do things our way. With Dre free from his contractual obligations, Knight wasted no time in establishing Death Row Records. The label, co-founded with Dre, quickly became a haven for artists seeking creative freedom and a more lucrative deal than what Ruthless Records offered. Death Row's roster soon boasted some of the biggest names in hip-hop, including Snoop Dogg, Tupac Shakur, and later, even MC Hammer. The formation of Death Row Records signaled a changing of the guard in the hip-hop world. It challenged the dominance of the East Coast and ushered in a new era for West Coast hip-hop. However, this shift in power came at a cost. The rivalry between Death Row, spearheaded by Knight and Dre, and Ruthless Records, led by Eazy-E, intensified. What began as a business dispute morphed into a bitter personal feud, fueled by diss tracks, accusations, and escalating tensions. The stage was set for a war of words and music that would captivate and shock the hip-hop community. The rivalry between Death Row Records and Ruthless Records was not just a business dispute. It quickly turned personal, with each side using music as their weapon of choice. Diss tracks became the battleground where grievances were aired and reputations were challenged.
They thought they could just walk away and do their own thing. But I wasn't about to let that slide without a fight.
Eazy-E, feeling betrayed by Dr. Dre's departure and Suge Knight's aggressive tactics, fired back with his own diss tracks. Songs like Real Motherfucking G's directly targeted Dre and Death Row, accusing them of disloyalty and deceit. It wasn't just about the music anymore, it was personal, and we had to respond. Dr. Dre, now firmly established at Death Row, responded in kind. Tracks like Dre Day took aim at Eazy-E and Ruthless Records, escalating the feud to new heights. The back and forth of diss tracks kept fans on edge, each release adding fuel to the fire. The tension between the two camps spilled over into the streets, with reports of confrontations and violence adding a dangerous edge to the rivalry. The hip-hop community watched as the feud unfolded, a testament to the high stakes and intense emotions involved. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the conflict was more than just a clash of egos. It was a reflection of the larger struggles within the hip-hop industry, where issues of power, control, and respect were constantly at play. The diss tracks and escalating tension between Death Row and Ruthless Records would leave an indelible mark on the history of hip-hop.
I was diagnosed with AIDS. I want to turn my own problem into something good that will reach out to all my homeboys and their kin. I'm not looking to blame anyone except myself. You know, people talk. They say things like, did someone inject Eazy-E with AIDS? It's wild, but those stories are out there.
The sudden death of Eazy-E in 1995 shocked the world. His diagnosis and passing raised many questions and fueled numerous conspiracy theories.
Eazy-E's death was a huge loss for the music industry and his fans. Even today, the circumstances around his passing remain a topic of debate and speculation.
The streets have their own stories. Some say it was just bad luck, others think there might be more to it. Who knows? All I want is for my fans and family to be aware and to take care of themselves. That's what matters now.
Despite the controversies, Eazy-E's legacy lives on through his music and the impact he had on hip-hop culture.
And so, the legend of Eazy-E continues, intertwined with both his groundbreaking contributions to music and the mysteries that surround his untimely death.
It was a turbulent time, man. The streets were rough and the music reflected that reality.
Yeah, the legacy of many artists from this era is undeniably tied to violence, whether they wanted it or not.
The violence wasn't just in the lyrics, it spilled over into real life, affecting the artists and their communities deeply.
You know, N.W.A changed everything. They brought the raw truth of the streets into the mainstream.
Absolutely. Their music wasn't just entertainment, it was a revolution that redefined hip-hop and gave a voice to the voiceless. Straight Outta Compton wasn't just an album, it was a statement. It captured the anger, the frustration, and the resilience of a generation.
And it wasn't just about the music. It was about telling their story, their way. It shook the industry to its core.
The story of N.W.A and their rise from the streets of Compton is one that will never be forgotten. Their impact on music, culture, and society is still felt today, reminding us of the power of truth in art.